I secretly recorded my cousin at my mom's funeral, and what she admitted in 7 minutes destroyed her reputation forever. She stole my wedding, my baby shower, and even my mother's last days, but her own voice finally exposed everything. I have a recording that is going to destroy my cousin. 7 minutes. Her voice. At my mother's grave. And nobody knows I have it yet. Not my family. Not my husband. Nobody. But when I play it, everything is going to explode. Everything she has done for 3 years. Every moment she stole. Every celebration she destroyed. It is all about to come crashing down. Because what she said at that funeral. What I captured. It is worse than anyone imagines. And I am done protecting her. My name is Claire. 32 years old. My cousin Danielle is 30. We grew up like sisters. Closer than sisters. Our mothers were best friends. We spent every holiday together. Every summer. Every important moment. Until Danielle started destroying those moments. One by one. Deliberately. Systematically. For 3 years. My wedding. My baby shower. My mother's hospital bedside. And finally my mother's funeral. Each time worse than the last. Each time I stayed silent because she was family. Because she was causing harm. Because I told myself it would stop. It did not stop. It escalated. Until I stood at my mother's grave and realized. She was never going to stop unless I made her. So I hit record. And what I captured that day. What is on that audio file sitting on my phone right now? It is not just her hijacking another moment. It is proof of something so much worse. Something I did not even realize until I listened back. Something that is going to change everything when my family hears it. But I am getting ahead of myself. Because to understand why that recording is a weapon. Why it is going to detonate our entire family. You need to understand what happened before. You need to understand what I survived. What I stayed silent through. What led me to that graveyard with my phone recording in my jacket pocket. My wedding was 3 years ago. September. Beautiful day. Perfect weather. The man I love waiting at the end of the aisle. 200 guests. Months of planning. Everything exactly right. Danielle was my maid of honor. Obviously. We had been inseparable since childhood. I never considered anyone else. She was my person. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. Everything normal until Danielle stood up to give her toast. She had broken up with her boyfriend 4 months earlier. Messy breakup. She had been calling me constantly. Processing. Crying. I had listened for hours. Supported her through it. But that week. My wedding week. I had been busy. Focused on my own celebration. I had not made her pain the center of my attention. And Danielle. Danielle does not do well when she is not the center. She started her toast sweetly. Congratulated us. Said nice things. Then she shifted. To her breakup. To her pain. To what she had learned about love being temporary. About how relationships end without warning. About her journey through heartbreak. She spoke for 11 minutes. At my rehearsal dinner. About her breakup? My husband's brother timed it. Showed me his watch afterward. 11 minutes. His face said everything. People shifted uncomfortably. My mother looked at me asking silently if she should intervene. I shook my head. Let it go. Danielle was causing harm. It would be fine. That was my first mistake. Thinking it would be fine. Thinking she would stop. Thinking this was grief instead of what it actually was. A pattern. A choice. A deliberate taking of space. The wedding day was worse. So much worse. During the reception, Danielle pulled me into a hallway. Tears already forming. She said seeing happy couples was triggering her. That she needed me to reorganize the seating chart. Move her away from 2 guests who brought dates. Said watching them would be too painful. I spent 45 minutes. 45 minutes of my own wedding reception. In a hallway with my wedding coordinator. Moving place cards. Rearranging tables. While my guests waited. While my husband searched for me. While my perfect day ticked away. When I finally got back, Danielle thanked me. Hugged me. Said I was such a good cousin for understanding. For accommodating her pain. I smiled. Said of course. Went back to my reception. Then during cake cutting my aunt found me. Said Danielle was having a crisis. Had to step outside. Could not breathe. Needed space. We could not start the first dance without the maid of honor. Protocol. Tradition. The photographer needed her in the photos. So we waited. 20 minutes. Everyone standing around. The DJ asking if we should just go ahead. Me saying no. We have to wait. When Danielle came back, her makeup was destroyed. Eyes red. Mascara streaked. She had been sobbing. Hard. Visibly. And our photographer. Our very good photographer who keeps shooting even during quiet moments. He captured it. Danielle crying in the background of my first dance photos. Full body sobbing. Making absolutely certain everyone could see her pain. At my wedding. In my photos. Forever. I looked at those photos 2 days later. On our honeymoon. Saw Danielle crying behind us. And something cold settled in my chest. She knew what she was doing. She knew those photos were being taken. She chose that moment. That position. That level of visible distress. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Being selfish. She was in pain. Real pain. Breakups are hard. I should be more compassionate. I said nothing. Let it go. Tried to move on. That was my second mistake. My baby shower was 14 months later. My best friend let go it. Her house. 15 women. Intimate. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. I was 7 months pregnant. Exhausted but happy. Looking forward to celebrating with women I loved. Opening gifts for my daughter. Normal shower things. Danielle arrived 40 minutes late. The shower was 2 hours total. She missed almost half. Walked in looking distressed. Immediately announced she had just come from a difficult conversation. With her ex. The same ex from the wedding. The breakup from 2 years earlier. She sat down in the center of our circle. And she started talking. About the conversation. About her feelings. About her unresolved grief over this relationship that ended 2 years ago. About how hard it was to move forward. My baby shower stopped. Completely. My friends. Kind, compassionate women who did not know the full history. They leaned toward Danielle. Offered support. Asked questions. Gave her their full attention. For 40 minutes. Almost the entire second half of my shower. Danielle processing her 2-year-old breakup while my gifts sat unopened. While my celebration became her therapy session. While I sat there with my hands on my pregnant belly watching it happen. And I knew. Sitting there feeling my daughter move inside me. Watching my cousin take another moment. I knew this was not accidental. Not uncontrollable. Not grief she could not manage. This was deliberate. Calculated. A pattern so clear I could not unsee it anymore. But what could I say? How could I call it out without looking cruel? Without seeming selfish? She was in pain. She needed support. Saying anything would make me the villain. So I smiled. Opened my gifts during the last 15 minutes. Thanked everyone. Pretended it was fine. It was not fine. And it was about to get so much worse. My mother was diagnosed when my daughter was 8 months old. Aggressive. Fast moving. They gave us maybe 14 months. We got 14 months exactly. 14 months of watching the strongest woman I knew get smaller. Weaker. 14 months of hospital visits and hard conversations and trying to make every moment count. Danielle visited regularly at first. Brought food. Sat with my mother. Normal supportive things. I thought maybe this would be different. Maybe watching someone actually face mortality would shift something in her. Make her see outside herself. I was wrong. 9 months into my mother's diagnosis. Bad week? My mother was struggling. I had been sleeping in a hospital chair for 3 nights. Running on nothing but determination not to collapse. Danielle came to visit. Sat by my mother's bed. Held her hand. Said sweet things. Then she started. About how hard this was for her. Watching my mother suffer. How it brought up her own grief. Her own fears about loss. How unprocessed feelings were surfacing. Specifically feelings about her breakup 3 years earlier because grief is grief and apparently watching my mother deteriorate was somehow connected to her ex-boyfriend. My mother. 4 months from the end. Listened to my cousin process her 3-year-old breakup from a hospital bed. And my mother being who she was. Said something kind. Something gentle. And Danielle took it as permission. Kept talking. Kept making it about herself. For 20 minutes. Until a nurse came in and Danielle finally stopped. I stood in that hallway afterward. Shaking. Not crying. Past crying. Just shaking with a rage so pure it scared me. I made a decision. Right there. When this was over. When I had buried my mother. When I had done everything I needed to do. I was going to say something. Once. Clearly. Loudly. And Danielle could deal with whatever came after. But I needed proof. Because I knew Danielle. I knew she would twist it. Make herself the victim. Make me look cruel. I needed evidence nobody could argue with. 2 weeks before the funeral, I bought a voice recorder. Small. Clips inside a jacket pocket. I did not feel strange buying it. I felt like someone preparing for war. The funeral was Thursday. November. Cold. Everything gray and heavy and exactly right for goodbye. We did the service at her church. Then drove to the cemetery. Stood around the grave. The pastor spoke. My brother spoke. I could not speak. Could not form words. Just stood there holding my husband's hand while they lowered my mother into the ground. Then, during a quiet moment, Danielle stepped forward. Nobody asked her to speak. Nobody invited her. She just stepped forward, positioned herself at the head of the grave, and began. I pressed record. What happened next? What she said. I have listened to that recording 50 times. And every time I hear something new. Something worse. Something that makes the whole 3 years click into focus with a clarity that is almost physically painful. She spoke for 7 minutes. Started with my mother. Beautiful things. True things. Then she pivoted. To her own mother. To grief. To loss. To the particular pain of watching someone you love suffer. Then she said it. The thing I did not catch the first time. The thing I only heard when I played it back later. The thing that changes everything. She said, standing here today, I am reminded of my own loss. Of watching someone I thought would be permanent just disappear. That relationship. That ended 3 years ago. It feels connected to this moment. To watching Aunt Karen be lowered into the ground. Because both losses taught me the same thing. That nothing is permanent. That people leave. And you have to find a way to survive it. She connected them. My mother's burial. Her breakup. Made them equal. Made them the same. Standing at my mother's grave talking about her ex-boyfriend like they were equivalent losses. But that was not the worst part. The worst part came next. I have been carrying this grief for 3 years. Bringing it to every family gathering. Every celebration. Because I needed you all to see it. To witness it. To understand that I was suffering too. And maybe I made some moments about my pain when they should have been about joy. But grief does not wait for convenient times. It shows up when it shows up. And I needed space for mine. She admitted it. At my mother's grave. Admitted that she had been deliberately taking space. Making moments about herself. For 3 years. Consciously. Knowingly. Not because she could not help it. Because she needed to be seen. I stood there recording. Watching my family's faces. Nobody was stopping her. Nobody was stepping in. They were just listening. Uncomfortable. But letting it happen. When she finished, she stepped back. Looked around. Waiting for someone to say something nice. To validate what she had just done. Nobody did. The silence was thick. Heavy. My brother looked at me. I looked at him. He knew. Somehow he knew I had captured it. We left the cemetery. Drove home. I put my daughter to bed. Sat with my husband. Played him the recording. When it finished, he said, "When are you going to play this for the family?" I said, "Soon. Very soon." He said, "Good. Because that needs to be heard." I waited 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Danielle texting me. Checking in. Asking how I was doing. Playing the supportive cousin. The grieving family member. The person who cared. Every text made my jaw clench. Because I knew. I knew what was on that recording. I knew what she had admitted. I knew what was coming. I called a family dinner. Nothing unusual. We always gathered after a loss. Everyone came. My aunts. My brother. Cousins. Danielle. Nobody knew what I had planned. Not even my brother. I kept it locked down tight. This needed to be mine. Clean. Controlled. Devastating. We ate. We talked about my mother. People shared memories. It was tender. Painful. Normal. Danielle smiled across the table. Participated. Laughed at the right moments. Played her part perfectly. After dinner, I said I had something to share. Something important. Something everyone needed to hear. Danielle smiled. That small knowing smile. Like she expected to be included. Expected this to be about collective grief. About family coming together. I placed my phone on the table. I said, "I recorded this at Mom's funeral. I need you all to hear it." Danielle's smile froze. Not disappeared. Froze. Like she suddenly understood. Suddenly realized. But it was too late. I pressed play. 7 minutes of her voice filled my dining room. Every word. Every pivot. Every connection between my mother and her breakup. Building. Building. Until that final admission. Maybe I made some moments about my pain when they should have been about joy. But grief does not wait for convenient times. It shows up when it shows up. And I needed space for mine. The room was dead silent. I watched faces change. My Aunt Margaret. Danielle's own mother. Put both hands over her mouth. Eyes wide. Like she was physically trying to hold back words. My brother sat perfectly still. The way he gets when he is controlling something enormous. Dangerous. My cousin Rachel. Danielle's younger sister. Stared at the table. Would not look up. Would not look at anyone. When it finished, I let the silence sit. Let it expand. Let it fill every corner of the room. Then I spoke. That recording is from the funeral. What you are about to hear happened before. I told them everything. The rehearsal dinner. 11 minutes about her breakup at my wedding toast. The seating chart. 45 minutes of my reception spent reorganizing tables because she could not handle seeing happy couples. The missing first dance. Her crying in my wedding photos. Deliberately. Visibly. Where the photographer would capture it. The baby shower. Arriving late. Hijacking the entire second half. Making my celebration about her 2-year-old breakup. The hospital. My mother's hospital room. My mother dying. And Danielle. Processing her breakup. Making my mother comfort her about a relationship that ended 3 years earlier. I laid it out. Chronologically. Clearly. With the flatness of someone who has carried something heavy for too long and is finally setting it down. When I finished, the silence was different. Sharper. Angrier. Danielle said, "You recorded me. At your mother's funeral. That is sick." I said, "You admitted it. At my mother's funeral. You admitted you had been deliberately taking my moments for 3 years. I just made sure everyone heard it in your own words." She said, "You are twisting what I said." My Aunt Margaret. Her own mother. Cut her off. Danielle. Stop. We heard the recording. We heard what you said. Your own words. You admitted it. Danielle turned to her mother. Eyes filling. The tears coming fast. The way they always did when she needed to shift sympathy back to herself. Mom. She is making me sound like a monster. I was grieving. I was in pain. I could not help. You said you needed space for your grief at family gatherings. My aunt's voice was shaking. Not with sadness. With something harder. You said maybe you made moments about yourself when they should have been about joy. Those are your words, Danielle. Not Claire's. Yours. My brother spoke. Low. Controlled. The wedding toast. I was there. I timed it. 11 minutes. At Claire's rehearsal dinner. About your breakup. We all sat there uncomfortable. And nobody said anything because we thought you were just struggling. That you could not help it. But you could. You admitted you could. You chose to do it. Danielle looked around the table. Looking for an ally. For someone to defend her. For someone to say Claire is being too harsh. Claire is being cruel. Nobody did. Every face. Every single face. Looked back at her with recognition. With the expression of people who had been half seeing something for years and were finally allowing themselves to see it completely. Rachel. Her own sister. Finally looked up. You did it at my graduation party too. 5 years ago. I never said anything because you are my sister. But you made my graduation dinner about your breakup with someone I did not even know. And I sat there. At my own celebration. Listening to you cry. While everyone comforted you instead of celebrating with me. I thought I was being selfish for being upset. But I was not. Was I? It was not a question. Danielle stood up. Fast. Chair scraping. I am not listening to this. You all are ganging up on me. Making me the villain. I loved Aunt Karen. I was grieving too. You do not get to tell me how to grieve. You made her tragic event about your breakup, I said it quietly. But it landed like a slap. At her grave. You compared burying my mother to your relationship ending 3 years ago. You made them equal. You made them the same. While I stood there. While my brother stood there. While we were actually burying our mother. You made it about you. Again. Danielle's face did something I had never seen. The tears stopped. Just. Stopped. And underneath was something cold. Something that knew exactly what it had been doing. Maybe I did, she said it quietly. Dangerously. Maybe I made those moments about me. But you know what, Claire? You let me. Every single time. You never said anything. You never stopped me. You just smiled and accommodated and rearranged your life around my feelings. So maybe you are just as responsible. The room went cold. My husband moved. Slight. Protective. My brother's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle jump. I smiled. Actually smiled. Because she had just done it again. Even now. Even caught. Even confronted with her own recorded admission. She found a way to make it my fault. You are right, I said. I did let you. For 3 years I chose silence. I chose keeping peace. I chose family harmony over calling you out. And that was my mistake. My failure. But Danielle, I am not staying silent anymore. I am not letting you take anything else. I am not accommodating. I am not rearranging. I am done. Completely done. And everyone here, everyone at this table, now knows exactly what you are. Because I played them your own words. Your own admission. Your own voice. And there is nothing you can say that will erase what they heard. Danielle looked around the table one more time. Looking for something. Anything. Found nothing but closed faces. Turned backs. The end of permission. She left. Grabbed her purse. Walked out. Door slamming behind her. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full. Full of 3 years of suppressed realizations. Of moments people had felt uncomfortable but could not name. Of a pattern finally visible. My aunt reached across the table. Took my hand. I am so sorry. I am so sorry I did not see it. I am sorry you carried this alone. My brother said, I saw it. Parts of it. But I told myself I was being unfair. That she was just struggling. I should have said something. I should have backed you up. Rachel said, she did this to me too. Multiple times. I thought I was imagining it. Thought I was being selfish. But I was not. None of us were. One by one they spoke. Sharing moments. Instances. Times Danielle had made their celebrations about her pain. Small things. Things they had dismissed. Things they had accommodated. All of it adding up to the same pattern. And I sat there. Listening. Feeling lighter. Not because they were confronting Danielle. Because I was not alone. I had not been crazy. I had not been selfish. I had been seeing something real. Something everyone had been seeing but nobody had named. The recording did not create the problem. It just showed it. Made it undeniable. Gave it a voice. Her voice. Admitting it. At my mother's grave. 10 days later my aunt, Danielle's mother, sent me a message. I have been thinking about what you showed us. About what it cost you to carry alone. I'm sorry you felt you had to. I'm sorry she gave you reason to. I love my daughter. I will always love my daughter. But loving her does not mean pretending not to see her clearly. Thank you for helping me see her clearly. Even though it hurts. Even though it is my child. Thank you. I read that message 5 times. Sat with my daughter sleeping in my arms. And cried. Not from grief. From relief. From being believed. From being seen. Danielle did not speak to me for 4 months. Then she called. Sunday afternoon. I almost did not answer. But something made me pick up. She sounded different. Smaller. Quieter. She said she had been in therapy since the dinner. Intensive therapy. Said her therapist used a phrase that would not leave her alone. That she had a pattern of making her pain the loudest thing in every room. That she weaponized her grief. That she used other people's moments to get attention she did not know how to ask for directly. She said, I listened to the recording. You sent it to my mom and she played it for me. I listened to myself admit it. At your mother's grave. And I heard what you heard. What everyone heard. And I was horrified. Not because you recorded me. Because I said it. Because it was true. Because I did it deliberately and I convinced myself it was grief when it was. It was something else. Something worse. I said nothing. Let her talk. I am sorry, she said it simply. No defense. No explanation. No, but I was causing harm too. Just sorry. I'm sorry I stole your wedding. Your baby shower. Your mother's hospital room. Your mother's funeral. I'm sorry I made your grief about me. I'm sorry I took and never once asked if you had space to give. I am sorry. I said, I know. She said, I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect things to go back. I needed you to know I heard it. I see it. And I am working on it. Really working on it. Not just saying it. I said, okay. We talked for 40 minutes. Not like before. Not like sisters. Like two people carefully deciding if there was anything left to build with. If forgiveness was possible. If trust could exist again. I do not know the answer yet. Maybe there is something. Someday. Maybe not. But at least now. At least now it is honest. At least now she cannot take without me seeing it. Without me stopping it. My daughter is 3 now. She knows Danielle's name. Sees her at family gatherings. Runs to her sometimes. Children do not carry what adults carry. They just see someone familiar. Someone safe. I am trying to learn from that. Trying to hold what happened without letting it be everything. Trying to let Danielle earn back trust. Slowly. Carefully. With boundaries I never had before. My mother's photo is on my wall. Her laughing. Really laughing. The way she did when something genuinely delighted her. Danielle is in the background of that photo. Smiling. Looking at my mother with real love. She did love her. I know that. People can love someone and still make everything about themselves. People can grieve and still weaponize that grief. Both things can be true. Here is what I learned from 3 years of silence and one recording that broke everything open. When someone consistently makes your important moments about themselves, it is not always accidental. Sometimes it is a choice. A pattern. A way of getting attention they do not know how to ask for directly. Understanding that does not mean accepting it. It means seeing it clearly. Naming it. Refusing to accommodate it anymore. I also learned about my own silence. Every time I chose peace over honesty. Every time I rearranged my life around someone else's feelings. I gave permission. I built the dynamic I was angry about. My silence was complicity. And breaking that silence. Recording that funeral. Playing it for my family. That was not cruel. That was necessary. That was the only way to make people see what I had been seeing. To make it undeniable. Some people still think I went too far. That recording someone at a funeral is wrong. That I should have handled it privately. More gently. Maybe. Maybe there was a gentler way. But I tried gentle for 3 years. I tried private conversations and careful boundaries and hoping she would see it herself. And every single time she took my gentleness as weakness. My silence as permission. My boundaries as suggestions. The recording was not gentle. It was truth. It was her own voice. Her own words. Her own admission. And it worked. Not because it was kind. Because it was undeniable. If you are reading this because someone in your life makes every moment about themselves. Because your wedding became their crisis. Because your celebration became their therapy session. Because even your grief somehow centers them. You are not imagining it. You are not being selfish. You are not overreacting. You are being stolen from. Moment by moment. Celebration by celebration. And they will keep taking until you stop giving. Stop giving. Say no. Set the boundary. Even if it feels cruel. Even if they call you heartless. Even if they make you the villain. Record it if you have to. Not to be vindictive. But to show people what you have been seeing. To make it undeniable. To protect yourself from being gaslit into believing you imagined it. Your moments belong to you. Your wedding. Your baby shower. Your grief. Yours. Not theirs. Yours. Do not give them away to someone who has never once asked permission to take them. I recorded my cousin at my mother's funeral. 7 minutes of her admitting she had been deliberately stealing my moments for 3 years. I played it for my family. She called me cruel. Called me a monster. Said I weaponized her grief. But that recording showed everyone what I had been living with. What I had been carrying alone. What I had been too afraid to name. It ended something that should have ended years earlier. It cost me the relationship I had with Danielle. But it gave me something more important. It gave me back my voice. My boundaries. My moments. And I would do it again. Every single time. Your moments belong to you. Protect them. Even from family. Especially from family. Some people will call that cruel. Let them. You will be too busy living your actual life to care. The recording was not a weapon. It was a mirror. And mirrors only show what is already there. I just made sure everyone was looking.